Every time you step onto that treadmill or push through another set of recommended exercises, thinking you're doing your heart a favor, you might actually be hurting it. It sounds shocking, but recent studies have uncovered a dangerous truth. Not all exercises are created equal for older adults. In fact, 5 popular workouts, often praised as healthy, are quietly overwhelming aging hearts, causing stress, inflammation, and in some cases, long-term damage. Most seniors follow advice that's built for younger, stronger bodies. But your heart at 60 isn't your heart at 30. Its muscle walls are thinner, arteries stiffer, and rhythm more sensitive to pressure and spikes. Still, many workout routines marketed as low impact or safe are putting hidden strain on the cardiovascular system, especially when done with outdated advice or improper intensity. One recent study from the American Journal of Cardiology found that some popular exercises increased heart arrhythmia risk in seniors by 40% compared to walking. And here's the terrifying part. Most people don't feel it happening until it's too late. They think the shortness of breath is just fatigue, or the dizziness is normal. It's not. These symptoms are your heart trying to tell you it's being pushed beyond its healthy threshold. This isn't about stopping movement. It's about choosing smarter, safer movement that works with your heart, not against it. So before you lace up your sneakers and head out for your daily routine, stay with me. I'm going to walk you through the 5 exercises you must stop doing immediately and explain the simple alternatives that could literally protect your life. If you're over 50, or if you love someone who is, this might be the most important 10 minutes of your week. Hit like, subscribe, and let's begin with what your heart desperately wishes you knew. Let's start with the most deceptive exercise of all, the incline treadmill walk. Sounds simple, right? A gentle uphill stroll, perfect for burning fat and building endurance. But what most seniors don't realize is that incline walking, especially at high angles, can dramatically spike systolic blood pressure and overwork an aging heart. When you walk uphill, your body automatically increases cardiac output to push oxygen through your muscles. This is fine when you're 30, but at 65, your heart walls are stiffer, your arteries less elastic, and your cardiovascular recovery time is significantly slower. Instead of building endurance, you're triggering elevated stress hormone release and putting yourself at greater risk of atrial fibrillation or blood pressure crashes. In fact, a 2021 clinical study out of Johns Hopkins showed that moderate incline walking raised heart strain markers by 22% in adults over 60, compared to flat walking. The worst part? These effects often go unnoticed because you feel okay during the walk, but the silent inflammation begins immediately. That afternoon fatigue, the sleeplessness, the irregular heartbeat at night, they're not random. They're the physiological fallout from a routine your heart is begging you to reconsider. The fitness industry loves to push the no pain, no gain mantra, but if you're over 50, pain could mean permanent damage. You need to replace intensity with intention. Flat surface walking at a steady pace, preferably outdoors, activates the cardiovascular system gently, improves circulation, and gives your joints a break. And it doesn't come with the dangerous cortisol spike or blood pressure surge that inclines trigger. It's not just about doing exercise. It's about doing the right exercise for your current biology. So if incline walking is your go-to, it's time to ask yourself, is it worth sacrificing your heart health for a few extra calories burned? Trust me, there's a better way, and it starts with listening to what your body is really saying. The second exercise that's secretly harming seniors? Jumping jacks. Yes, those nostalgic gym class staples we've all done since childhood. But here's the truth. Jumping jacks are not low impact. They're a coordinated high-impact movement that demands simultaneous arm-leg motion, joint stability, and consistent rhythm. For aging bodies, especially those with even slight balance issues, weak knees, or joint degeneration, this movement becomes a recipe for disaster. The jarring vertical impact from each landing sends shock waves through the ankles, knees, and lower back. But that's not all. The rapid arm motion raises your heart rate too quickly, especially if you're not warming up properly. For someone in their 20s, this is energizing. For someone over 60, it can lead to arrhythmia or unexpected blood pressure spikes. The most alarming thing? A 2020 cardiopulmonary study found that high-impact aerobic movements like jumping jacks increased heart arrhythmia risk in seniors by nearly 38% compared to moderate strength training. Why? Because as we age, our nervous system loses some of its elasticity and precision. Our autonomic responses become slower, and our joints more vulnerable. The quick, repetitive pressure from jumping jacks pushes aging joints beyond their natural alignment, and it's often the silent micro tears and ligament stress that accumulate over time, leading to long-term damage. And yet, many fitness apps still include them in beginner routines for older adults. But there's nothing beginner-friendly about them. Want the cardio benefits without the risk? Switch to low-impact step touches, seated marches, or elliptical-style arm movements that offer dynamic motion without the impact. You'll still elevate your heart rate, but safely and without the musculoskeletal toll. Aging doesn't mean inactivity, but it does mean choosing smarter, not harder. The exercises that used to empower your body might now be quietly eroding it, and unless you change course, the damage won't show up until it's too late. Wall sits, often praised for building leg endurance, could actually be weakening your knees and lower spine over time. The move looks innocent enough. Back flat against the wall, legs bent at 90 degrees, holding still. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface, especially if you're over 50. That static hold isn't just strengthening your thighs, it's also locking your joints into a high-tension position that limits blood flow and puts chronic stress on the patellar tendons. For younger individuals with elastic connective tissue and ample cartilage, this strain is manageable. For older adults, however, the body's ability to repair microdamage is slowed, and the knee joint, already vulnerable to age-related cartilage thinning, is being asked to hold an isometric contraction that may exceed its current structural limits. Even worse, wall sits can cause something called vascular occlusion in the lower limbs when performed too long or too low. This temporary blocking of blood flow makes your legs feel tight, numb, or shaky afterward. That might sound like a normal burn, but in older adults, restricted blood circulation during exercise can raise the risk of clot formation or post-exercise dizziness. A 2021 physical therapy study found that seniors who practiced isometric holds like wall sits for more than 30 seconds experienced significantly higher knee discomfort scores, particularly those with a history of arthritis or tendon inflammation. Why? Because muscle activation in a static form doesn't build balanced support. It tightens, it shortens fibers, and it doesn't encourage the fluid motion your joints need to stay healthy. The biggest misconception is that feeling the burn equals progress. But past a certain age, the burn might just be your body's warning signal. In fact, trainers now recommend dynamic squats with a stability ball as a safer alternative. These allow for the same muscle engagement while promoting movement, circulation, and alignment. So, what's the takeaway? Wall sits may look effective, and they might even feel like a challenge worth taking. But for aging bodies, they're a silent threat. You're better off choosing exercises that work with your joints, not against them. Because longevity isn't about pushing harder, it's about training smarter. Lunges, hailed as the ultimate lower body sculptor, might be aging your hips faster than you think. Yes, they're a staple in every fitness routine. Yes, they're often labeled functional. But here's the unspoken truth. The way most people perform lunges, especially those over 50, is setting their bodies up for joint degeneration, muscle imbalance, and even spinal misalignment. Why? Because lunges require perfect alignment, dynamic flexibility, and a strong sense of balance, all things that naturally decline with age. When you step forward into a lunge and drop your body weight, the hip flexors on the rear leg lengthen under stress, while the front knee bears most of your mass. If your glutes aren't fully firing, and let's face it, for many people they aren't, your quads take over. This causes anterior pelvic tilt, which compresses the lumbar spine. Over time, that means more back pain, more stiffness, and a pelvis that stays locked in a position that literally makes you look older when you walk. Worse yet, research from the American Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy found that 67% of individuals over 55 who performed forward lunges as part of a standard fitness regimen developed increased knee valgus, aka knock knees, within 6 months. That's a biomechanical change that's hard to reverse once it starts. And if you're doing walking lunges, the instability doubles. Every step becomes an opportunity for your joints to collapse inward, especially if your ankles or knees aren't tracking properly. That repetitive stress doesn't build strength. It breaks structure. So what should you do instead? Reverse lunges, for one, are much safer. They give you more control, reduce pressure on the front knee, and engage the glutes in a more natural pattern. Even better, step-ups with proper form on a low platform can give you all the lower body activation without the risk of misalignment. And here's something you don't hear often. The best anti-aging exercises aren't just about what you add. They're about what you stop doing. Knowing when to say no to certain popular moves can be the difference between a strong, fluid body at 60 and chronic pain by 52. Sit-ups are aging your spine, and science proves it. You might think crunches and sit-ups are the holy grail of core strength. You've probably been told they tighten your abs, burn belly fat, and give you that flat stomach look. But here's the brutal truth. Sit-ups don't just fail to flatten your belly. They could be speeding up spinal degeneration and damaging your posture permanently. Let's break it down. A traditional sit-up involves repeated flexion of the spine. That means curling your vertebrae forward again and again under load, especially if you clasp your hands behind your head or use momentum to swing up. The spine wasn't designed for this kind of repetitive, loaded motion. In fact, according to Dr. Stuart McGill, one of the world's leading spine biomechanics researchers, every sit-up pushes your lumbar discs closer to herniation. He even calls them spine killers. And it's not just the spine. When you do sit-ups with poor form, which, let's be honest, is how most people do them, you're actually overusing your hip flexors, especially the psoas muscle. This muscle connects your spine to your legs, and when it's overactive, it creates a constant pull on the lower back. The result? Chronic lower back pain and a pelvis that tilts forward, giving your stomach the very bulge you were trying to eliminate. But the most insidious part? It ages your posture. Sit-ups reinforce the same hunched position we adopt when we stare at screens all day. Shoulders rounded, head forward, chest collapsed. Over time, this doesn't just make you look older. It makes you feel older. Your breathing becomes shallow, your spine compresses, and your confidence drops without you even noticing. What should you do instead? Dead bugs, bird dogs, and planks. These movements train the core to resist movement rather than create it, which is exactly what your spine wants. They build deep, stabilizing strength without sacrificing your discs, and they promote upright posture, spinal integrity, and long-term mobility. The takeaway: if you're still doing sit-ups, it might be time to ask, is this move helping me stay young, or is it stealing years from my spine? Let's talk about your face and what lunges have to do with it. It might sound unrelated, but the secret to a youthful face isn't just skin creams and serums. It's blood flow. And one of the most powerful ways to flood your skin with oxygen-rich blood is through compound movements like walking lunges. When you perform lunges, especially dynamically, your glutes, quads, and hamstrings work in harmony to pump blood throughout the body. That increased circulation doesn't stop at your legs. It rushes upward, feeding your brain, your skin, your organs. This is what scientists call vascular flush. And it's like a daily power wash for your capillaries. Now, combine that with what happens hormonally. Lunges trigger your body to release human growth hormone, HGH, a critical player in cellular repair and collagen production. That's right. The very hormone celebrities pay thousands to inject artificially can be naturally boosted with a set of well-paced lunges. Add to that the fact that lunges improve posture by correcting muscle imbalances between the left and right side of the body. And you have a movement that doesn't just change how you look, but how gracefully you move through the world. Youth isn't just about a wrinkle-free forehead. It's about stride, presence, alignment, and lunges check every box. So next time you're tempted to skip leg day, remember, your glow might just depend on it. If you're still underestimating the impact of mobility drills, let me introduce you to the secret weapon of the world's most youthful older adults, hip openers. These aren't just for dancers or yogis. They're foundational to how well you age. Tight hips are more than just uncomfortable. They pull your posture out of alignment, compress your spine, shorten your stride, and even affect how deeply you breathe. And when your body moves with stiffness and restriction, it literally sends a signal to the brain that you're aging. That's why unlocking the hips is like removing a handbrake on your youth. Exercises like the 90-90 stretch, butterfly pose, or deep lunge with rotation don't just restore joint function. They improve circulation to some of the most neglected parts of your lower body. This improved blood flow boosts oxygenation to pelvic tissues, enhances nerve function, and even supports hormonal balance. But here's what most people don't realize. Hip mobility influences your entire kinetic chain. That means better posture, improved balance, and reduced risk of falls, all of which are silent markers of aging. And beyond the physical, there's the emotional shift. People who open their hips regularly report feeling lighter, less anxious, and even more confident. There's a reason ancient movement practices consider the hips the seat of emotion. So if you're trying to look and feel 10 years younger, skip the fancy gadgets. Lay down a mat, open your hips, and let your body breathe like it hasn't in years. Let's talk about something you rarely hear in any fitness video but has an outsized effect on how old, or young, you look: your feet. Yes, those two things at the bottom of your body might just be sabotaging your youth without you even realizing it. Weak feet lead to poor posture, unstable balance, joint pain, and an awkward gait that instantly adds years to your appearance. Ever noticed how older people start to shuffle? That starts decades earlier with ignored foot strength. But here's the good news. Your feet are full of muscles, ligaments, and nerves that are just waiting to be reactivated. And when they are, the transformation can be shocking. Simple movements like toe spreads, towel scrunches, or standing barefoot on uneven surfaces can rebuild neuromuscular connection and stimulate the tiny stabilizers most of us have long forgotten. The result? You walk taller. You stand straighter. Your entire lower body, from your calves to your core, begins to fire more efficiently. And with that newfound strength comes energy, grace, and the effortless vitality we associate with youth. Science backs it too. Studies show that foot-strengthening exercises reduce fall risk, improve joint alignment, and even enhance athletic performance in older adults. But perhaps most importantly, people who train their feet report feeling more grounded, literally and emotionally. It's not just about balance, it's about control. So if you want a subtle but powerful age reversal tool, don't just look up, look down. Rebuild from the ground up, and your body will thank you in ways you never expected. And here's the final truth. None of these exercises matter if you don't start. You don't need a gym, fancy gear, or hours of free time. You just need 10 minutes and the decision to stop letting time dictate how you feel. Because aging isn't just about wrinkles, it's about energy, posture, presence. And the moment you move with intention, your body listens. So take a breath, roll your shoulders back, and begin. Looking younger starts now.